Well, welcome to our lesson on the slope formula. In this lesson, you will be finding the slope using the slope formula, and you will be finding that slope from tables, from graphs, from ordered pairs, and also from equations. So the slope m of a line containing the points x1, y1, and x2, y2 can be found using a simple formula. This formula for the slope is equal to the difference in the y variables divided by the difference in the x variables. And we have talked about this a little bit in previous lessons, and we said the difference in the y variables is called the rise, and the difference in the x variables is called the run. Another way that I will also refer to this is delta y, or change in y, over delta x, or change in x. So it's the vertical change up and down divided by the horizontal change left and right. That defines what a slope is. So let's go ahead and put this into action and see what it looks like. Our first problem says to determine the slope of the line that contains the given points. So here we have the point 5, 7, and 9, 11. So I'm going to call the first point x1, y1, and the second point x2, y2. The subscripts are just to tell us that we have two separate points. They have different x variables and different y variables. So our slope formula says to take the difference in the y variables and divide that by the difference in the x variables. Well, now we can just plug in the values below their corresponding variables. So y2 is 11, and y1 is 7, x2 is 9, x1 is 5. Subtracting those, we get 4 over 4, which is 1. So the line that contains these 2 points has a slope of 1. Over on the right, example B, we have 2 different points again. The first point I'll call x1, y1, and the second point x2, y2. So we will have 15 minus a negative 5 divided by 2 minus a negative 2. Well, that's 15 plus 5, which is 20, divided by 4, which gives us a slope of 5. Letter C and D I'm going to leave for you to do as practice problems, and you can bring those answers to class. Down below we have a table, and it says determine the slope of the line that contains the points in the table. Well, we can choose any two ordered pairs. It doesn't matter which two that we choose. So I could choose the first two. If I'm going from I'm going to call the first pair y2 and x2. So we're going to have, for our slope formula, we will have m is equal to y2 minus y1. I'm going to say that's 3 minus a negative 3 divided by, and then I will use the x variables. x2 I'm going to call negative 2, and x1 I'm going to call 1. So we have negative 2 minus 1. Now the important thing here when we're doing slope, if we start with this y variable, we must start with this x variable. So that's the only real thing we need to make sure that we're doing. So the slope is 3 minus a minus 3, which is 3 plus 3, which is 6, divided by negative 3, which gives us a slope of negative 2. Slope from graphs and tables. So we have a graph and a table that shows a linear relationship, and we want to be able to find the slope from either the picture in the graph or from the table. Well, in the graph, we have two ordered pairs, just like we would in a table or just written as an ordered pair. So we're going to take the difference in the y coordinates divided by the difference in the x coordinates. So I'm going to call the first ordered pair negative 2, negative 1, and the second ordered pair 2, 2. So then you can see from the ordered pairs that I'm going to take 2 minus a negative 1, and I'm going to divide that by 2 minus a minus 2, and that will give us our slope of 3 over 4. Over on the right hand side, okay, I'm going to just pick the first two coordinates, so x1, y1 and x2, y2, and then plugging it into the formula. y2 is 1, y1 is 0, so we have 1 minus 0 divided by 2 minus 2. Well, we can't divide by 0, so our slope is undefined. And whenever we have an undefined slope, we know that this is a vertical line. In this problem, we have a biologist that's trying to determine the speed of a cheetah. The second hand on the clock was at 14 seconds when he began timing, and at 51 seconds when the cheetah had run 1,184 meters. What was the speed of the cheetah in meters per second? Well, our little hint here is the speed that we're trying to find is a rate. And rates are basically just ratios, which are another way of expressing a slope. So we want the speed, which is the distance divided by the time. And the distance we have is 1,184 meters. The time is 51 seconds minus the starting time of 14 seconds, which is 37 seconds. And that gives us a speed of 32 meters per second. To find the slope from an equation, we can use our intercepts. So the first step is to go ahead and find the x-intercept. This is where we're letting y be 0. So if I let y be 0, okay, I'm going to just cross off the y term and solve for x. So I'd have 6x equals equals 30. So that would give me an x-coordinate or an x-intercept of 5. So my x-intercept is 5, 0. Then I'm going to go ahead and find the y-intercept. When I'm finding the y-intercept, I'm letting the x variable be 0. So I'm not looking at this x term. I'm going to cross that one out and solve for y. When I do that, I get y is equal to -6. So when x is 0, y is -6. So now I have two ordered pairs. So my third step, I can go ahead and use the slope formula and plug in those values. And that just basically gives me -6 minus 0 over 0 minus 5. Now make sure you start in the same place. So we have a -6 divided by a -5, which is a positive 6/5. That will do it for this video. We will see you in class.